Hi, I'm Elizabeth O'Brien, and today is the day you're going to learn about adverb clauses. Before we start talking about adverb clauses, you need to remember what an adverb is and what a clause is. So let's just review those two topics before we talk about adverb clauses. It will be very helpful. So adverbs are one of the 8 parts of speech, and they modify, that means they describe or modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. All right, you remember that? Good. Clauses are groups of words that have a subject and a verb. An adverb clause is just a type of clause, so that means it's a group of words that has a subject and a verb, and all of the words in that clause, the whole group of words, acts as one thing. It acts as an adverb. So an adverb clause is a type of dependent or subordinate clause, and it acts as an adverb. Let's look at some examples and it will become a little more clear for you. I'm going to go now to my website, English Grammar Revolution, and we're going to look at the page called Adverb Clauses. So let's check it out. All right, so here we are on the adverb clause page. You can see it says adverb clauses are subordinate clauses. Adverb clauses are subordinate clauses that act as adverbs. You already knew that, right? Okay, here's a sentence diagram. We'll come back and talk about this in just a little bit, but know that I am a sentence diagramming kind of girl. I think sentence diagrams are a great way to show how the parts of speech, phrases, clauses, all elements of a sentence are related to each other. So we'll come back and look at this in just a little bit. Look at this sentence right here. It says, I walked today. The word today is telling us more about the word walked. It's modifying the word walked. When did I walk? I walked today. Today is an adverb. All right? Hold that in your mind and look down at this sentence. I walked before the sun went down. Now we have a bunch of words after I walked. It says before the sun went down. But all of those words are answering the same question. If I asked you, when did you walk? You would say, I walked before the sun went down. Here we have a dependent adverb clause. It has a subject, sun. It has a verb, went. And all of these words are performing the function of an adverb. They're all working together to tell us when I walked. All right, the next thing you should know about adverb clauses is that they cannot stand alone. That is what it means to have a dependent or a subordinate clause. It means they can't stand by themselves. And here's what I mean by that. These groups of words here are examples of adverb clauses. Until I fall asleep. Whenever my teacher yells. After I walk the dog. All of these groups of words here have a subject and a verb, which means they are a clause. But they don't express a complete idea. Until I fall asleep doesn't give you all the information you need to know. You're left wondering, well, what until I fall asleep? What about whenever my teacher yells? What about after I walk the dog? So these are clauses, dependent clauses, that can't stand alone. Since they can't stand alone, dependent clauses rely on independent clauses. They need to be hooked up to an independent clause so that they express a complete thought or a complete idea. So look at these examples down here. I've added some words. I listen to music until I fall asleep. That now expresses a complete idea, a complete thought. Whenever my teacher yells, I know she's having a bad day. Poor teacher. I will take out the trash after I walk the dog. Notice that all of these in bold here are the same groups of words that we had up, the ones that we were just reading up here. And now they're hooked to other groups of words. These ones that are not in bold, the ones that we added, are independent clauses. They're groups of words with a subject and a verb, and they can stand all by themselves. Let's look at this one. If I just said to you, I know she's having a bad day, it's a complete sentence. It expresses a complete idea. So that can stand all by itself. This is the kind of clause, an independent clause, that a dependent clause, like an adverb clause, needs to hook up with. If we put all of this together, whenever my teacher yells, I know she's having a bad day, that also makes a complete sentence. So just remember that adverb clauses and all types of subordinate clauses need to be hooked up to or joined with independent clauses in order to express a complete idea. Let's look at this sentence. My mom smiled when I made dinner. The independent clause is my mom smiled. If you look down here, you can see how that is diagrammed. My mom smiled. Now, when I made dinner is the adverb clause. You can see it right here. And the cool thing about diagramming is that we can tell that this clause, I made dinner, is hooked back up, if we follow this dotted line, to the word smiled. So we can tell that this whole clause is telling us about this verb, smiled. It's easy to see that it's modifying smiled and that the whole thing is acting as an adverb. So let's look at that sentence diagram at the top of the page here. It says, I read because I love stories. Now you know that I read is an independent clause. It has a subject and it has a verb and it expresses a complete thought. Because I love stories is the dependent adverb clause. And the whole clause, because I love stories, is telling us more about the verb in the independent clause. It's answering the question, why? Why do I read? I read because I love stories. So it's easy to see that because I love stories is a dependent clause relying on the independent clause. It's acting as an adverb. We can see because it comes off of the verb. And you can tell that it has a subject and a verb. I love. Okay, I hope you found this video extremely helpful and that you feel much smarter now than you did before you watched it. Feel free to go back and look at my website if you'd like to learn more about grammar. It's EnglishGrammarRevolution.com. Have a good day. Bye. If an adverb and a clause got married, basically an adverb clause is exactly what you'd think it would be. That's really not what I should say. Clauses are words that have, I'm sorry, that's totally not true.